Hi everyone, just want to include you in on what I have on deck for today. It's Penne alla Vodka. My husband volunteered me to make it for his job. They're having some sort of party or function or whatever, so he volunteered me to make a tray of it. The original recipe is for 4 servings. It takes 45 minutes to an hour. It's not a calorie conscious dish. I know I've been talking about me trying to lose weight and stay on a healthy path. This is really not for that. It includes heavy cream. My recipe also has prosciutto in it. That's optional. If you don't like pork or you don't eat cold cuts or something like that, then that's optional. But because I do chop prosciutto and put it in there, I don't include any other salt in my recipe because the prosciutto is like a salt-cured ham. So that's that. So let's get cracking. Just keep in mind that my recipe right now is going to be on a larger scale, so you're going to see me add massive amounts of onions and things like that, but yours only calls for a small onion. Alright, so let's get cracking. Okay, so here we are. You see I have a really humongous pot. This is not my normal cooking pot. This is because I'm making a whole ton of this sauce. Usually I double the sauce recipe, so the original recipe that I'll show at the end is for a serving of 4. I'll make double that sauce recipe and still only serve 1 pound of pasta. I will have a little sauce left over, but my family likes extra sauce on their pasta, and it doesn't go to waste. We'll bag it up in a plastic bag and throw it in the freezer for a quick lunch or dinner or something like that. So here's my pot. In it, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon, which is what the original recipe calls for, of butter. We're going to melt that in 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then once that's all melted together, we're going to add our 1 small onion that's been chopped. And we're going to cook that all together until the onion becomes translucent. What's translucent? It's see-through, basically, or opaque. So we're almost there. The butter is going to help the olive oil not to burn. It's also going to be more of a savory base for onions to soak up all that goodness in. So we're doing this over medium heat, and we're going to keep an eye on this because, like I said, we don't want anything to burn. We are putting the butter in there to help the olive oil not to burn, but we don't want to have any mishaps. I have my onion already chopped up, so we're just going to throw that in there. It doesn't matter how you chop it, if you do a big chop or a small chop. I like to use a finer chop. But it doesn't really make a difference because it's going to be a more chunkier sauce. We use diced tomatoes, so if you keep it a larger chunk or a larger chop or dice, whatever, it's okay because they'll melt down, onions melt down to almost nothing, and you are serving it with the chunkier sauce, so that's fine. And if at the end you decide to run it through the blender just because you want a creamier, smoother sauce, then that's cool too. So let me just show you real quick. Here's my melted butter and oil. I'll show you just a little, whirl it around a bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and throw my onions in there. So here, just so you can get an idea, this is my massive amount of onions that I chopped this morning. I am making quite a bit. This is 6 large onions. The recipe calls for 1 small onion. So you get an idea of how much I'm making. So we're just adding this to the oil and the butter. And then we're going to saute this up until the onions become translucent. That's going to take a few minutes. And then once the onions are translucent, we're going to go and throw our tomatoes in that have been drained. So I used already diced canned tomatoes. And I just throw them in the colander and drain the excess juice off. And then we're going to cook those. Alright, so we're going to just let this sit here for a while, give it a mix every now and then. And I'll see you back here when we're ready to add our tomatoes. Okay, so my onions are pretty much translucent. I'll give you a peek into the pot to see what they look like. I have my drained tomatoes that are already diced. I bought them like that in the can. I buy whatever's on sale, the diced tomatoes. because we're going to cook with them. So I haven't really had a bad experience with any of the brands that I've bought. It's usually Tutto Russo or Red Pack. Those are the two brands that I usually go to, but like I said, any brand is fine. I'm going to give you a peek in the pot of my translucent onions so you can see, and then we're just going to toss in the tomatoes. Let those cook down until most of the liquid is gone, and we're going to stir those every now and again also. This way, you know, all the tomatoes get cooked, the onions and everything, you know, the juices get all blended all nice, and that's it. So let me just show you my pot. Here we are here, nice and steamy. I don't know if you can see anything. Let's see if I could take some out. So that's my translucent onions closer up, just because you got fogged up before. I'll tell you, the onions smell so good right now. It's so sweet and nice. And when I was cutting them, I was a crying slob mess because I was cutting so many onions I couldn't even see. So here's my tomatoes. I'm just going to drop them in. They've been sitting in the colander in the sink, so they've had a nice bit of time to drain out. You can, if you don't want to use the pre-diced ones in the can, you can use fresh tomatoes. You have to just cook them down, take the skin off, or you can buy the whole tomatoes in the can and take the seeds out and drain them and chop them yourself. I try to make this as quick as possible because with 2 kids, you know, you have limited time to cook and do things and play around with that kind of stuff. So I try to press the easy button where I can. The diced have been working just fine for our family. We haven't had any issues and definitely no complaints. So I'm going to give this a big mixing because it's my big pot. Incorporate everything, blend everything together right now. I'm still on medium heat. And then this is probably going to take the better part of a half hour to cook most of the liquid down. But you'll see, when you add the tomatoes, you'll see how much liquid is in here. In 10 minutes, check it, you know, when you're stirring it around, see how much liquid is left. You're trying to just cook out most of the liquid and give the tomatoes a good cooking. So it might not take the half hour for you, but most times it does. When that's done, when you're satisfied with the amount of liquid that remains, or that is not there actually, I should say, then you can go ahead and add your vodka and your crushed red pepper. Cook that a bit, and then you add your cream. So I'll see you back in about a half hour when I'm ready to add in my other ingredients. We're just going to cook this out a bit. Alright, see you soon. So my tomatoes are cooking away. Most of the moisture has cooked out of them, the liquid. So I'm going to go ahead and add my red pepper flakes, my crushed red pepper flakes. It's only 1/4 teaspoon. If you like it more spicy, you could add more, of course, but 1/4 teaspoon is what the recipe calls for. And usually I haven't had a problem with that amount with people who don't like spicy food. That's been pretty good for me. And then it's 1/4 cup of vodka. Of course, this is more because I'm making 8 times the amount that the recipe calls for, but it's 1/4 cup of vodka, and that's going in. And now we're going to give this a good mix again. And this is not going to cook that long. We're just really cooking the alcohol out of the vodka. So it's only just going to be a couple of minutes. And a few mixes around. And then after a few minutes of the alcohol cooking out of the vodka, we can go ahead and add our cream and our prosciutto. If you're adding the prosciutto, you could also add the prosciutto now. Doesn't really make a difference. It's, you know, that's going to give me my salt. If you're not adding the prosciutto, then you can salt and pepper when you put the cream in. So I'm going to give this just a few minutes, cook the vodka a little bit, the alcohol out, and then I'll see you back here when it's time to add the cream. Okay, so we're back. I cooked most of the alcohol out of the vodka. My kitchen, it smells phenomenal. I'm thinking about turning on my stove vent just to make my neighbors outside jealous. I'm about to add the cream, the heavy whipping cream, or whatever you want to call it, to my tomatoes. So this is 4 cups. I'm going to add 2 of these to mine, but you're only going to need 1 cup of cream for the regular recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and add my cream. And then this is a good time to also add the prosciutto if you're adding it. Just a note on that, I usually get mine thin sliced at a deli counter or at the deli, and then I cut it into thin little strips or thin little, like I chop it up real fine and thin because I like to have it as thin little flakes, almost invisible in my sauce. If you add it, you know, like this, like if I were just to take it and throw it in, then it would kind of just all come together and be one chewy glob, which that's not what I want. I just want nice thin little, almost tissue paper like flakes. So the thinner you can get it cut, it is more of a pain to work with because it sticks together. And then just, you know, try to sprinkle it in as best you can, so it doesn't stick to each other and be like a big chewy, you know, part of your sauce. You want it just to kind of melt in, blend in, and be almost invisible. So it's not a heavy duty flavor you're getting, but it is adding to the sauce. I do have someone in my family that does not eat pork, so when I make this sauce for the entire family, then I just leave the prosciutto out. But today we're adding it. Okay, so when all is said and done, I'm going to boil up my pasta. This is going to cook for another few minutes so everything can marry together and the flavors could develop even more and become part of the heavy cream that I just added. I'll show you my finished product because as soon as the pasta, the penne is done boiling, I just throw this on top, throw my grated cheese over that, and some minced or chopped chives for garnish. Alrighty, so we'll meet back here in a few minutes. Okay, so our sauce is done simmering and coming together with the cream in it. I have my bowl of pasta here. I'm going to go ahead and add my nice thick sauce so you can see it. All the chunks of tomatoes and cream and everything. I'm going to give that little mixy poo around. And then I'm just going to add my grated cheese. In my house, there's no such thing as too much cheese. But since I am trying to watch my weight a little bit, and this is already kind of not the healthiest, I'll just leave it at that. And then just for my garnish, just a sprinkle of chives. And there we go, we're all set to mange. What do you guys think? I hope you try it out. It's really easy. Once you do it once and you get the hang of it and like what's what about the sauce, you can adjust it accordingly. Like you don't have to put as much red pepper. You can put more red pepper, whatever you like. Put the prosciutto, don't put the prosciutto. There is no substitute for the prosciutto, so it's either put it or don't put it. Like I said, I haven't really found a way to lighten it up yet. I'm experimenting on a few different ways, but I haven't found anything that I'm really loving that compares to the sauce the way it is. You could do it the night before, put it in the refrigerator, and then, you know, just boil the pasta and put it on top of the pasta before serving. If you're crunched for time or you want to make ahead, that's fine. I've even taken leftover sauce, put it in a Ziploc, and froze it. Defrosted and, you know, used it at a later date, like for a quick dinner or something like that. That's been fine too. And that's it. Share the recipe, like my video if you gave this a try and you liked it and your family liked it or whoever you made it for. Share it with the people that you love and the people that you like, because that's what I did. It's a special recipe for me, so I only gave it out to those that are special to me. And now you guys, so you're in the elite group, I guess. Anyway, so stay tuned for more videos in the future. I don't know what I'll be cooking up next, but I'm sure it's something. And that's it. All right. Happy eating.